of July, bluefin tuna again are striking in the waters off Nova Scotia. In October, they will have disappeared. Where do they come from? No one knows exactly, nor does anyone know the habits of this deep-sea fish. The bluefin tuna is widely distributed, found in the Pacific, the Mediterranean, and Atlantic waters. Some migrate along the west coast of Europe in the late fall and winter. Then, following the Gulf Stream, they strike the West Indies in the spring. Traveling through Caribbean waters, spawn somewhere in this area. Following the mackerel and herring on which they feed, they head north along the eastern coast of the United States and Canada and strike Nova Scotia near Yarmouth and Wedgeport about the 1st of July. Wedgeport is typical of many fishing villages, with its church, its schoolhouse, its cooperative store. It is peopled by LeBlanc, Boudreaux, Doucets, and other descendants of the Acadian French who settled here in 1770. People who still follow the ways of the sea as their forefathers did. It is a leisurely village where there is time to stop and talk to a neighbor. Here, harvests are more plentiful from the sea than from the land. For Wedgeport, as its name suggests, is located on a point of land wedged between the sea and Tuscot River. It is the sea and the giant tuna sporting in the waters just offshore that make Wedgeport a unique village. In Soldier's Rip, a strong tidal stream, about 1 mile wide, great schools of tuna feed amongst the rocky Tuscot Islands. Tuna throng here. So hungry for food, they destroy nets and food fish. To rid the waters of them, the Wedgeport fishermen rigged up boats for harpooning. They drifted in the bay watching for tuna to surface. They harpooned and sold them in the commercial markets, but never considered catching them with rod and reel for sport, as they did in other waters off Nova Scotia. It was in 1935 that Mike Lerner, ever on the hunt for new tuna fishing grounds, angled here with bait. The fish grabbed hungrily, and he had strike after strike. Almost overnight, Wedgeport became news. The village boats were not at all equipped for sport fishing, and the demand for suitable boats was great. So the fishermen overhauled and reinstalled their engines. They organized a tuna fleet of boats with themselves as guides and captains. And they painted their boats to match the sky, to make them less noticeable from a fish-eye view. The inn soon filled with people, and today, all summer long at Wedgeport, traffic leads to Tuna Wharf, where sportsmen gather around the clubhouse. In the evening, strangers become friends as they talk of tuna they have caught in other places. But yarns stop early because these deep-sea anglers must be up before dawn. In the home of the guides, Mrs. Richard is already getting breakfast. Edward is a captain and owns one of the tuna boats. And George, one of his crew, is a guide. At the inn, the guests are getting a good breakfast too. Pettis is still talking of the tuna he hopes to land. And John Manning is here again, hoping to beat his official record of 1938 when he pulled in a tuna weighing 890 pounds. These giant blue fins bring sport fishermen from all over the world to Nova Scotia, and for them, the day begins while others sleep. It is an hour's run out through Lobster Bay to Soldier's Rip, and on the way out, the crew is busy getting the gear ready. This morning, other boats have beaten Manning to the fishing grounds. Often, it is a race to see who will be on the rips first. For tuna feed better on the early tide, and it's a thrill to get the first strike. Herring boats on their way home from all-night fishing come alongside to supply the tuna boats with fresh bait, for each boat uses an average of 2 barrels each day. Herring is most commonly used, although mackerel also makes a good bait. Getting the bait ready is quite a delicate job, for it must look as lifelike as possible as it drifts behind the boat. The backbone is removed, so the bait will wiggle naturally in the water. The hook is then threaded through the mouth into the body of the fish, and the eye of the hook is sewn into the mouth. Now the bait will glide through the water with a swimming action. The fishermen use 24 or 36 thread line. This is fastened to the leader with a snap swivel to prevent kinking. The leader, made of piano wire, is about 20 feet long. To allow freedom of action, the rod is placed in a socket in the swivel chair at the stern of the boat. Some boats have a second rod in the stern. This rod usually has a string of herring tied on its leader to act as a teaser. The last herring has a hook in it, so the fisherman may have another chance for a strike. Already the tuna are boiling up behind the boat. The line is fastened lightly from Manning's rod to a long pole George uses to work the bait. And Harry teases the tuna along with chum, that is, small pieces of herring. The tuna keep coming, boiling up over and over again after the chum. As the tuna make a strike for the teaser, George places the baited hook a little nearer. Sometimes the tuna strike quickly, Or again, they may have to be coaxed along with chum for an hour or more. This fellow is coming closer and closer. It's a strike. Away goes the tuna on his first run, 200, 300 yards at torpedo-like speed, and the boat races after it to keep from losing too much line. Alternately running and sounding to get away, the tuna often takes the boat for miles. When he sounds, he is lifted with a pumping motion. A fumble in handling the boat may lose the fish, but precision teamwork helps win the battle. Time after time, a tuna may surface and appear to give up, but like a flash, he is off again on another long run. Sometimes a tuna may be landed in 30 minutes, but more often the fisherman, as well as the fish, is completely exhausted before the struggle is over. The bluefin is close to the boat now and down deep. But according to sporting rules, the guides cannot touch the line to help haul him in until the snap swivel of the leader reaches the tip of the rod. Even though the tuna is gaffed now and close to the boat, the fisherman is never sure of his prize until it is safely landed. After running a rope under his gills and through his mouth, all hands have to heave hard to boat the hefty bluefin. This one is well over 600 pounds. And now, according to custom, they raise a flag to show that another bluefin has been landed. But all around them, the battle between game fish and game fishermen still wages. Pettis has the big fellow he was hoping for this morning. And strength matches strength in the grim fight to win out. Fog and rain are no obstacle, for dull days are often better fishing days. There's Kip Barrington's boat coming alongside. Kip is a well-known deep-sea angler, and so is his wife, Chizzy. There is time for a chat now, for the tide is changing. At slack tide, which lasts for an hour or so, tuna rarely strike, so everyone can relax. The sunshine, the salty air, and the lulling motion as the boat rocks gently make this a welcome break after a strenuous morning. But now the tide is running again, and many boats are already on a fish. The whole south and east shore of Nova Scotia are potential fishing grounds. In these waters, all world records but 2 have been made. Record tunas have been caught off Yarmouth, Shelburne, Jordan's Falls, Liverpool, Lunenburg, and many other seaport towns and villages. But Soldier's Rip off Wedgeport is the most famous hot spot in the world for tuna in both size and quantity. Women may be considered the weaker sex, but watch Georgia Manning, who has many record catches to her credit. She has a strike already. John and Georgia Manning have been called the Angling Mannings. In 1946, they boated 43 tuna weighing over 25,000 pounds, and that's no mean achievement. But Georgia is not the only woman angler who makes and breaks records. There are many others. Mrs. Chisholm of Cleveland at present holds the woman's record. She brought to Gaff a giant bluefin weighing 760½ pounds. No, tuna fishing is not just a man's game. It's been a good day on the Rip, and the boats with flags flying head back to Tuna Wharf. Villagers and visitors alike seem to know instinctively when to be there, for some are always on hand to welcome the fishermen back. All during the late afternoon, the boats keep coming home. If the tide is out, it is still a long, hard pull with block and tackle before the giant fish are landed on the pier. Excitement mounts as the fish are weighed, and the scales are tipped at 600, 700, 800 pounds, and even more. For records are kept of each tuna caught, the time it took to land it, and the name of the fisherman who caught it. For each man hopes someday his tuna will break the record. These fish are too large to be carried home, so they are given to the guides. From their hands, the fish find their way to the commercial markets. Pettis, however, is taking what he can, the tail of his tuna. He will not soon forget the flame of dawn over Soldier's Rip, the thrill of his first strike, and his battle with the giant tuna off the shores of Nova Scotia.